big ass triangles.
So, hello everyone, how you doing? So, we got some people here making some garb for newcomers of the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism. And I think Michelle here should share with you the pattern that she is using. Because it is brilliant. Give me the pattern. Give me the if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it.
I
All
don't
right?
mind.
Here you go.
I'm not going to read it all to you. Good morning or afternoon. So these are for Russ pants. So wait a minute, let me get the picture so you know what the heck we're talking about here. All right, you're in charge of, I don't know how to do this. Just like,
Yeah, hold it up to the screen.
can you see that? Okay, those are the pants. All right, so I'm having to decipher the instructions, which are this thick. Step 0, acquire the fabric. Okay, so then you that's into yards. Step 1, big ass rectangles. And then you do measuring. And then it's press that shit real good. I didn't think of doing this tutorial until I'd already pressed and cut the shit out. And then there's more, and then congrats. These are your big ass rectangles. Let's make some little ass rectangles. Little ass rectangles, this part, totes optional. And then it goes on about how to make the little ass ones. And then step C, one giant ass gusset. And then it goes about the instructions, and then it's, seriously, go big or go home. Step, put it together, part uno. Congrats, you have 2 giant ass rectangles and 2 small ass rectangles and 1 large crotch rectangle. You will now make them be friends. And then it gives some sewing instructions, sort of, and then pictures of. Then it's put together numero do. Holy shit, Nova, it looks like I have 2 legs of Russ pants. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yes, you delightful reader, you do.
Still say it should have been gentle reader.
It should have. But I think this person was on something. And then let's turn them into pants, shall we? And then there's more sewing. And let's see. I'm really terrible at describing this, but you put that mother fluffer in there by sewing one edge of the small square into your big rectangle, and then the connecting edge of the other seam, the big rectangle. Shitty explanation, I know, but if you Google gusset or whatnot, you'll probably find a better description. Oh,
There's a flag.
I didn't know. Here are some shitty photos attempting to show how it goes together. It's a flag and an eagle, and I don't know.
Dun, 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 dun.
These are called Gusset Land. This one says, seriously, screw gussets, I cry every time. More pictures. And
Who are these people who can't figure out how to do a gusset? Oh, it's a man, I'm sorry.
I'm just not gonna say anything. And then this one goes on, you know, son, you've got a leg sewn up. Time to put these 2 legs together and make some legit pants. Do the same thing to the other leg as you did the first, but holy shit, now you have a gusset connected to the other leg. Make those mother fluffers go together. And it just goes on, and then more pictures. It says, what is even going on here? I don't know, gusset stuff. I know it's hard to see because they didn't print out real well. Putting them together, part holy shit pants. Oh my God, it's together, they're pants, holy shit. It's an 80 to 100 inch waistline. And then it just keeps going on and on. And then there's hemming. And yeah, so I think the guy who wrote this was on something, truly.
Or
But he was a man, huh?
he was a man, so he
he was a
can't
man.
figure out a gusset.
He was
I don't have a problem with a gusset.
Well, you know, you should maybe keep your comments to yourself. I like to take offense to that.
Okay, so now.
How'd that work out for you?
So now I gotta figure out how to write this into
You have a really endearing personality, you know?
Yep.
legibleness. All right.
So, what are we talking about today?
You need to see this pattern, dude.
It is so much
You've
fun.
been listening. You know what I did?
What'd you do?
I played trim chicken and I won.
Oh.
Okay, so there's this thing called yarn chicken.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of yarn left, you still have some stuff to do, and you're hoping you can make it, and you're hoping you can make it. I played trim chicken. I've been putting trim on, this is a flounce for a skirt. It's gonna go about
You made or
here.
did you find it?
It is so flouncy.
It's cute.
It's so cute.
So I was putting the trim
So pink.
on, it is very pink.
It is so pink. I love the pink.
It's very pink. I was putting trim on. I got to the end and I was like, okay, am I gonna have enough trim? Am I gonna have enough trim? And I played trim chicken and I won by about 4 inches.
Dun, 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 dun.
Mother.
So I have this thing, right? When I play yarn chicken. Oh my goodness, I broke my stuff. Okay. What? So I have this thing when I play yarn chicken. It makes no sense. I accept this, and I accept that it's illogical. I knit faster. Because if I knit faster, I will save yarn. I know, it's irrational. I didn't say it made sense. Right? It's the same logic. I accept. It makes no sense.
Oh my gosh. That is.
Oh my goodness, why is this not working today? My gosh, all of these, like, sorry, the thingy that holds this up is just like not holding it up today. What is going on? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna blame Canada for this one.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
This is clearly Canada's fault. Right, Joe? Yeah, I see you there.
I think this is more stone human being.
All right, we're trying this again. All right, what's
I
this?
just have to rewrite it. Because the first paragraph, it seems like the guy's mansplaining, but then you get down to the rectangles.
Way funnier than I can do. All right. Oh, people are laughing at us. That's good, right? You're laughing with us. Or maybe that was me hitting those buttons.
Oh, no, you're not, just kind of, that's my fault, I get a little.
So,
Mental.
we are making garb for newcomers, is what I was saying. And we are having fun doing it. Annalyn is making a dress for herself, though, because she can, and that's what we do here. Am I filtered weird?
This is
Where did I get my teeth from?
I actually brought the pattern.
You brought the
brought the
wedding
pattern.
dress.
This is the pattern. It's a Simplicity pattern from 100 years ago. I made this one in white for my first wedding dress.
It is a wedding. I was joking.
25 years, no, I made it for my wedding 25 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
But this time I'm making it a pink, obviously. So, yeah, there you go.
Woohoo.
Now I have to go do gathering. I don't.
What'd you say?
Gathering.
Oh, I thought you said you were duking it out in the ring.
I'm gonna do gathering and I'm doing gathering. Gathers, and I'm not excited about it.
I love doing stuff like that, especially when it's all basted and you pull it up. I love that part. But I don't get out much, so whatever. So, I have not brought any projects today that involve newcomers or really any art. So I did bring some knitting though, because I love knitting. Now, if you don't know, knitting was kind of invented in the Middle Ages, but not as we know knitting. There was no purl stitch, so you had to knit in the round. And they used double pointed needles for that. And so there's a real famous picture of a woman who's knitting a sweater, or a top at least. And she's got really long double pointed needles, and she's knit most of the sweater. She's like knitting the yoke part of it. And she's got 6 or 7 double pointed needles all in the round. Because obviously they didn't have cabled needles. I think those weren't invented until the 60s. Could be wrong about that. So they knit stockings in the round. Someone actually invented a knitting machine. Queen Elizabeth would not, even though this isn't in period, it's more the Renaissance. Someone invented the knitting machine. Queen Elizabeth said no, you couldn't have a patent for it, because if you patented it, then it would put the knitters out of work. Now, remember, knitters were not women at the time. Knitters were men, and those men made a knitting guild, and they had a lot of power and a lot of money. So Elizabeth didn't want to put the men out of work, which is fair. Hi, everyone. Oh, we have more people. Look at that. Oh, I'm getting old. Sorry, guys. Hi, Asuna 6260. Nice to meet you. So, oopsie doops. So I'm knitting, basically it's a bolero. Part of it's in the round, part of it isn't. I've knit a sleeve. Let's see. Goes on like this. Knit in the round. I don't know why part of it is purple. Can you see this? This is alpaca and something blend, silk. And that's what I am working on. And we are having a grand old time here. But this weekend, past weekend, no, 2 weekends ago, on the 1st, we had Harvest Fest, which is our arts and sciences competition. And we had this huge, we had our competitions, and we had classes, and we had all sorts of things going on. So I lost my shoe. Not necessary to share, I realize. So I taught a class on medieval money. Now, why would I do that? You may be wondering. Because I have an economics degree, a master's degree in economics from the University of New Mexico. I love New Mexico. And so I think, you know, money is at the root of many of our problems. Money is the root of many of our solutions. It's a central part of our lives. And medieval money is really interesting to me because the monetary systems were so fundamentally different from the way we think about money. Now, I'm going to change and put on a microphone because this is getting kind of loud in here. So just hang on here. Are we still here? Yay. So,
She's 20.
all right. How do you turn these on?
This is my daughter and her friend. My name.
I can't figure out how to turn this on. I'm sorry, guys. So you're gonna have to bear with me. So my point was,
This is because my daughter.
one of the reasons that our money was fundamentally different from today is that we have a different type of monetary system altogether. Our money today is called fiat money. And what that means is that our money, our dollar is worth $1 because we all got together and said, our dollar is worth $1. And the amount of stuff that we can buy with that dollar is what we're willing to trade that dollar for. It doesn't matter. There's nothing intrinsically valuable about that dollar. In fact, the dollar itself is absolutely worthless. So why am I mentioning this? Because in the Middle Ages, they had something what was called the silver standard. A lot of people say we were on the gold standard, but we were on the silver standard. And in the silver standard, the important part about their money is that the money itself was inherently valuable. There wasn't, like, they didn't have money and it was backed up by silver in some fort that was, you know, hundreds of miles away. No, the metal itself that you went and bought something with was the silver. This created a lot of problems because you can clip that money, you can shave a little bit off, you can counterfeit that money quite easily. You can also find more silver because the amount of silver is not constant, right? There are gold rushes, there are silver rushes. It's not uncommon to do that. Now, the interesting thing, though, about having your money on a silver standard is because most of the time that amount of silver is constant in your town, in your country, whatever. That means that inflation stays very low because your inflation can't get any higher than the amount of money that you have in the system. If you think about that, that makes sense. If you don't get it, let me know. I'll explain it further. But the lack of inflation is the number one reason when people say they want to go on a silver standard or a gold standard. That's why they want to go on it, is because they don't want to have to deal with inflation anymore. Now, inflation isn't inherently bad. That just means that people are trading more and we're printing money to deal with inflation. Then there's inflation because we're printing money. It's a positive feedback loop. And I don't mean positive in a judgmental way. I'm just saying that the feedback loops keeps itself going. That's a positive feedback loop. So why are we talking about this? There's when people talk about why do we have to learn about the Middle Ages, right? And we usually pick a subject that's kind of silly. I don't want to say silly, say spinning. And we talk about the Middle Ages in terms of, wars or spinning or the food. But without the money, we really don't have anything because there's no way to trade. Money can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be gold, it doesn't have to be dollars, it can be anything. It's shells in the New World. We famously bought Manhattan Island for 30-something seashells. Beads. We traded it for beads. There was an island in the Pacific. Their money were these 6-foot stones that were they were basically shaped like tires. There was a hole in the middle. You'd put a piece of wood through that hole, and 2 people would transport the 6-foot stone to the person that bought whatever you were selling. And that becomes very difficult to transport. And besides, what if you have something that isn't worth a whole stone? So they kind of developed this banking system in a way that didn't depend on moving the stones around, and they fractionalized the stones in their heads and in the books, and they kind of did what we did, right? We don't deal with money. Our money's on a computer somewhere, and it's theoretical almost, and that's how their money was. And then one day, like I said, they're in the middle of the Pacific, there's a storm. One woman's stone gets washed out to sea. No fault of her own. The sea just decided it had to have it. So what happened? This woman lost an incredible amount of wealth just because there was no way she could stop it. So the islanders get together and they decide, because it was no fault of her own, it was Mother Nature, she gets to keep her stone, and she gets to keep her wealth. And it's on the books until they get rid of the system. And she never became poor. But anything can be money. That's my point. And I forgot where I was going with this. I forgot. I'm sorry, guys. So, but when we say, do we have to really study money? It was in the past. It was used money as a means of exchange, right? Why do we have to study something that we no longer use as exchange, right? It's like music, right? It happened, we can't repeat it, and it served its purpose, and we're never going to need it ever again, right? Well, that's not necessarily true. one of the interesting things about studying medieval money is that there are a number of what we call natural experiments. Now, it turns out, and I blame the communists for this one, right? Ice in milk. Okay. So, I forgot what I was saying. Oh my gosh, yet again. What was I talking about, Michelle?
The last thing I heard you say was that anything can be money.
Anything can be money. We did that already.
Yeah, that's the last thing, because we got looking at high school pictures.
I'm not yeah.
Fire me, sorry.
Yeah, really.
I heard you, that was before that, like knitting faster when you're playing yarn, that was a long time ago.
We started out with that one.
Okay. Fire me now,
Sorry.
sorry.
Where were we going with this? It's like music. It happened. Why do we have to do this? So it'll come back to me eventually. One thing I like about studying money. Oh, we were talking about natural experiments. Blaming the communists. It turns out we are not allowed to do things like kill a third of the people of a town and see what happens. Again, I don't know why. Blame whomever. I think that's unfair. So, obviously, if you want to study what would happen during, say, a plague, again, we're not allowed to do that. So, we look to actual plagues, say the one in 1348, seven, and where the bubonic plague rather killed a third of all the population in England. So what happens? What happens to wages? What happens to your banking system? What happens to how is land redistributed? How is work now performed when you have a third fewer people to do the work, but you have a third fewer people to feed, plus you have all of these people who now need burials, and now you need a lot of lawyers because, oh my God, everybody died. And so, but economists look at that stuff in the Middle Ages, and we come up with really interesting things. One of the things that we learned is that people are really resilient. When a third of the people passed away from the bubonic plague in 1347, again, because of the commodity money that we had, the money itself was intrinsically valuable. People had a lot more money. There was actually some inflationary pressures because fewer people had more money. Fewer people could buy more stuff. But at the same time, stuff was becoming scarcer because we had fewer workers to, say, go work in the field or produce shoes or whatever. So there's fewer stuff to buy, or less stuff to buy, I should say. And so now you got people who want to spend things, you got people who want to make things, and then you have workers in the middle who are trying to eke out a living. Now, a lot of these workers were tied to the land, tied to the manor lord. They were not allowed to go and sell their labor to the highest bidder, which is what we are, in terms of economics, that's what we do. We sell our labor to the highest bidder, whoever's willing to pay us the most. So when when that happened in the Middle Ages, people wanted to leave the manor lands and go to other households, not factories, but other farms, and sell, work for a higher price. And the king said, no, can't do that. You have to sit there and you have to work for whoever you work for right now. You cannot leave and you cannot have a higher wage. And the landowners went, yay, and the workers went, pfft. And suddenly a lot of people overnight disappeared, literally. They just quit their ancestral homes because what was the point? You're being forced to work for a pittance and you don't have the right, it just wasn't right. And I don't blame them for wanting to leave. It took over 200 years for the population to get to the level of where they were before the Black Death. And when you think about it, that's pretty impressive because it killed a lot of the people. Usually illnesses kill the old and the young. The plague killed the healthy people who would have children. And spared the elderly and the young. So you had to wait for the young people to grow up and be able to bear children, and then they had to start. It was a whole thing. So,
that started the downward spiral?
I forgot why I was going there again. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a bit. There's a lot of people here today. They're all talking in the background, and I have ADHD, and there's only so much Ritalin can do. So, let me tell you a story. This is my favorite economic story of the whole world. Okay, so let's go back a little into the Middle Ages, and in 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue. He discovers the New World, and I put that in, discovers. But Spain is the driving force behind discovery in the Middle Age at that time, and they Columbus was Italian, I believe. He went to Spain. He got his funding from Queen Isabella. They, plant their flag all over the New World, right? They go to Florida, they go to Cuba, and they go down Mexico. They come back up the other side of South America, and they colonize back into Mexico again on the other side, and then in the United States, they colonize New Mexico, Arizona, California, up the Western Seaboard. So, the Spanish wanted to go to war. I don't remember with who, but when people wanted to go to war in the Middle Ages, kings specifically, they did this thing where they went to the Jews. The Jews had a lot of money. Now, you could not, if you were a Christian, you were not allowed to loan money and charge interest for it. It was called usury, and it was illegal, both by the church and by the state. So kings tended to go to the Jews, and they said, hey, can you loan me money? The Jews would say yes at this interest rate, and they would give the king the money. The king would go to war. The king would come back from war. The Jews would say, hey, can we have our money back? And the king would go, sure. And by the way, you're expelled from the country. So this was a pattern all over Europe, not going to lie. And the problem was that Spain wanted to go to war. Spain, unfortunately, did this thing called the Inquisition, and they already expelled the Jews before they went to war. Now, notice the pattern is you got to expel them after you go to war. So they're they're strapped for cash, basically. But they have this place in the New World where there is a lot of gold, right? Montezuma's Revenge. They have rooms and rooms of gold and silver and beautiful metals that the king is desperate to get his hands on. So the Spanish send ships full of conquistadors and soldiers, and they deposit the conquistadors and the soldiers all the way up the United States, what is now the United States, of the Eastern Seaboard, and into Mexico, and they bring that, and they, ships laden with gold, hundreds of thousands of pounds of gold. Now, remember what I said earlier about commodity money. Inflation stays low if you have the same amount of money in your system. But they didn't. They flooded the system with gold, right? And the Spanish king thought, this is brilliant. The Spanish people went, no, less brilliant, because of inflationary pressures. They never did go to war, by the way. They had hyperinflation. We're talking Germany after World War I type inflation. It was, the money itself had no value at all. And so it took decades for people to realize the economic prosperity that they had before all this gold had flooded the system. And I use the word system because that's what we call it in economics, but I meant the country. And so, where are we? So after a couple of decades,
Those things are with money.
there's a couple of women get together and they say, our husbands, those conquistadors, they're still over in the New World. Can we bring them back? Now remember, this is going on 20, 30 years. These are women who had been married maybe when they were 20, possibly, you know, their husbands left in their 30s. They send ships back to the New World. These conquistadors had given up on the ships ever coming back for them. They had new families, they had more children. They decided, why should they go back to a country that had forgotten them for 20 or 30 years? Rightfully so. I don't blame them at all. So instead of coming back and being reunited with their families, they decided they were going to send back divorce papers and annulment papers. Now, these are men who are wealthy. They're conquistadors. They are married to wealthy women with a lot of land. They had children who are very wealthy and will inherit a lot of land. However, if you get divorced in the Middle Ages, you lose all right to your children. If you're a woman, you lose all rights to the wealth that you had. You have no land. You go back, you live with your father as if you had nothing. Your children are disinherited, and you have, you know, these women had made marriages for their children based on the amount of land that they were going to inherit when their fathers got home. But no, they have nothing now. They are completely disinherited. Their daddies, also wealthy people. And these are women who are now in their 40s and their 50s. They are past their prime childbearing age, if they can bear children at all. If they want to join a nunnery, some of them did, but to join the church, you have to make a substantial donation to the church. So they're really a burden now on their fathers. And that's not the point of marriage in the Middle Ages. The point of marriage is to get rid of your daughters out of your household and have someone else feed them. And they become a broodmare. Now, the fathers, get together and they're like, nuh-uh, not doing this no more. And they go and they go to the government and they pass laws that say, if you get divorced from your wife gets half of everything. Now I say when the man gets divorced from his husband, because women were second-class citizens, women had no standing in the Spanish courts, so women could not bring a divorce lawsuit. It had to be the men who brought the lawsuit. Now, these women now can, when they get their conquistadors' husbands send back divorce papers, their children are still their children are no longer bastards. They are now legitimate again. They can inherit their land, they can inherit the titles, and the women get half of everything that the man incurred during the marriage, which was pretty much her stuff. That could be negotiated at the time of marriage. You know, if they get divorced, who would get what? And you can still do that today in prenuptial agreements, right? You can still today outline who gets what in case of a divorce. Now, those laws do not just pass in Spain. Those laws now are applied to everywhere that the Spanish have colonized, right? And fast forward a couple hundred years later, the United States are acquiring, Manifest Destiny. They are now trying to soak up all these states in the West. They want California. California joins them. Arizona joins them. Utah. The state above California that I can never remember if it's Washington or Oregon. I'm sorry. I'm bad at geography, okay? So, and then finally, New Mexico. New Mexico, all of these states keep all of those laws for when their husbands divorce these women. And in fact, when New Mexico went to become a state in 1912, the United States said, well, you have to get rid of those laws. And the men of New Mexico said, no, we are keeping those laws because it's only fair to our daughters. And they played chicken with the United States. The United States lets them keep those laws. So because the King of Spain wanted to go to war and wanted all the gold in South America, or Southern America, and people didn't think to integrate all that gold into the Spanish country slowly and gradually in a responsible way. Now we have community property states in the western states of the the old Spanish colonies of the United States. So studying this stuff may seem inconsequential. It may even seem a little silly, but it has actual tangible repercussions in your life, especially if you live in an old Spanish colony. And that was my point of all of this. We'll talk about some more money stuff next week. I want to thank Emily and Asuna and Emwas. I really appreciate you all being here. And yeah, it's been well, my goodness, I've been chattering on for 30 minutes. I can't believe that. We might talk about some more money stuff next week. We might talk about, maybe we could talk about some medieval clothing. I think we should talk about both. How about that? If you have any ideas about what you'd like to talk about next week, I am open to suggestion. We can talk about the plague. The plague is fascinating. I actually took a whole class on the plague, and the economic repercussions of the plague are even more fascinating. But this is my particular area of knowledge, and this is why I get excited about the Middle Ages, because it seems silly. It really does, but it affects all of us, even today. The most inconsequential decisions can have a ripple effect in history. So, yeah, put your comments in the comment section. Leave a like, subscribe. You know the drill. It's all YouTube. Everyone's just kind of sitting around. Nobody's working anymore. They're just talking. Lazy gits, just like me. So I'm gonna go be just as lazy. So, see you next week, everyone. Bye. Man, every week I do this, and I'm like, how do I stop this?